The definition of health, healthy living, and being a healthy man has changed profoundly for me over the course of my life. When I was a kid, I thought a healthy, strong man was a tough, big man, and I didn't really think about, weight, and I didn't really think about kind of any other aspects besides brute force and brute strength. Then, as I progressed and got a little bit older and started gaining a little bit of weight because I was living in a Western society and my body was so um, prone to gaining weight by living just a normal kind of Western lifestyle that my parents were giving me. I, I mean, I love my parents, they're great. So they were doing the best they can. And just my lifestyle, the lifestyle I led, made me gain weight and made me be less healthy. So at some point, including in my adolescence, I I got another conception of what it means to be healthy. In that sense, I thought it meant skinny and fit. But of course, being skinny and fit later on, once I got kind of into my early 20s, I realized that that's not how I want to be. That's not how I want to live my life as a skinny man. But I want to be fit. And then over time, as I started approaching my 30s and I entered my 30s, I've begun to have a more holistic, more appropriate, in my opinion, more appropriate view of what health means. So it's no longer kind of a piecemeal approach, but it's just a more adult, rational understanding that health is a kind of it's a pie and there's many slices to it. And there are things that I never even considered. There are aspects of health that I never even thought about that are becoming more and more important to me. So here we go. So obviously strength is very important, and it's especially important for a man. It's especially important for a man, and it's even more important for men in their 30s, in their 40s, and in their 50s. Because men in their 10s, late teens, and men in their 20s, they're not really they don't have to do that much to kind of be okay in terms of testosterone and strength and kind of moving their bodies. By the time you're 50, if you're not focused on strength and you're a lazy son of a bitch, you may find it difficult to do things that you didn't find difficult before, be they carrying things, lifting things, just doing whatever you need to do. So, brute physical strength is still important in our world. It's especially important for men. And even though we're kind of coddled in modern society, life is easier if you're strong. Period. It's better to be strong than weak. It's better to be normal than weak. It's better to be strong than normal. It's better to be super strong than strong. More strength is always a better thing. It's very basic. So within bounds, as long as the other things are met that I'm going to talk about, more strength is better. Period. Whether you have to carry a ton of stuff from your car, whether you have to go up a large flight of stairs, whether you have to carry someone, whether you have to do something, whether there's an emergency, life is easier and more pleasant when every part of you is stronger and can deal with more exertion, carry more weight, endure longer. Things just become easier and more pleasant. So strength is key. Then you have the testosterone aspect that comes from strength, the beautiful molecule that men need, and women need estrogen just as much. Testosterone is a healing, calming, anxiety reducing, gorgeous molecule that men need to live well and to feel okay, to feel fine. We need testosterone, and that decreases over time. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor by any sense of the imagination, not the real kind, nor am I an imaginary doctor as well. So take everything I say with a big grain of salt because this is kind of like informational entertainment and not medical advice at all. It's never financial advice either. It's never any kind of advice because, as I've said before, and as I'll continue to say, don't be a moron. Don't take advice without kind of filtering it through your own understanding, your own needs, your own risks, your own kind of approaches, habits, ways of thinking. Filter it through there first because if you don't filter it through there, it may be the worst advice for you. It may not fit your operating system, or it may fit your operating system, but it's not getting you towards the goals you want, or it's giving you too much risk, way more risk than you're comfortable with, or that you can tolerate easily. So always attenuate advice that you especially advise you see online. Always attenuated with a healthy dose of reality and um, and reasonableness, and kind of filter it through your own ways of thinking. And then if you need real advice, then you could seek people who actually have responsibility towards you, both moral responsibility, just simply moral responsibility towards you, which I have a very tiny amount of moral responsibility towards you, right? Your doctor has a lot more inherent moral, human responsibility towards you. And then there's also legal, fiduciary responsibility. So a doctor has certain legal responsibilities towards you. So do other medical practitioners, and same thing is true in finance. Same thing is true in a lot of spheres that are kind of consequential. Uh, the law in the U.S. and generally in Western society puts certain fiduciary responsibilities on certain types of activities, not on others. And I can go into a long discussion on that, why there's weirdness and perversion in different approaches and in applications of fiduciary responsibility, but we're not going to go there. So just be careful taking advice online. Be very, very careful for anything, any advice online. But so testosterone is a great, beautiful molecule. Men need that. And so muscles help to kind of get it and maintain it. Muscles are also useful for absorbing excess calories. Instead of storing it as fat, your muscles can kind of take some of it. But I realized that muscles are not the only thing. I realized how intensely lacking I was, just unbelievably lacking in terms of flexibility. So in terms of flexibility, that's currently by far my weakest thing, and I suck in flexibility. I'm not a flexible person. I need to. That's like my next value add. That's my next step in life in terms of my health practice, being much more flexible, working on my flexibility. We're probably gonna start a yoga practice, uh, and I'm just trying to stretch more. I realize how inflexible I am overall, including my legs and just my overall body. Very inflexible, very kind of tight. It needs to be much more loose. So flexibility. Then eating right, the things you put inside your body. You could be a bulked up guy, you could be a flexible person, but if you're eating junk, you're gonna be made of junk. You're gonna be fueling your body with junk. It's just too harsh. You're taxing your body too much by putting junk in it. Take it easy on your body and put nice things, things that are easy to process, things that provide a lot of nutrition, and things that have a lot of fiber, so you can clean out your system, clean it out, all the gunk. Fiber's key. We don't get nearly enough fiber in our system today. So what do we talk about? Muscles. We talked about flexibility. We talked about food. Then there's mental health. Mental health is important. Now, when I talk about mental health, I'm talking about the monkey. I'm not talking about who you really are. I'm not talking about meditation, psychedelics, and acknowledging your true self. I'm just talking about making sure the monkey is reasonably happy, making sure the monkey is doing okay in the world, because the monkey's more effective when he's doing okay in the world. He's also more effective when he's strong. He's also more effective when he's flexible. He's also more effective when he's well fed, not overly fed, and when his body's not overly taxed with processing food. When the fuel is easy to process, those things help the monkey work better. So mental health is important. But also there's other kinds of there's other aspects. There's dental health. There's the health of your eyes. There's the health of your ears. There's the health of your skin. Those things are just coming onto my radar, where before I just had these like kind of macro approaches to health, and I thought that certain success in certain areas of health will override other areas, and now I realize that that's not the case. That a truly healthy person has all of these things. You can't just have one. You can't just have two. You have to have all of them. You need to focus on all of them. And then the last one that I didn't talk about that's pretty interesting is cardio. So cardio is I'm a little better in cardio than I am with flexibility. I'm just terrible with flexibility and just my overall like my body just it's tight, it's tense, it's not very flexible and well lubricated, if that's a real thing. It's not doing well in that sense. Um, but cardio wise, I'm pretty okay with cardio because I enjoy hiking. I have a hiking practice, and so we hike a lot, and I think that's an important thing that helps me maintain my cardio. But still, I have a lot more to go on my cardio. But overall, I have a ton more to go on my health stuff. I'm just a tadpole. I'm just beginning. I've barely scratched the surface of what I feel I can become in terms of health, taking care of the monkey. Now, why do you want to take care of the monkey? Why should we be healthy? That's a different question. That's a very interesting and profound question. But I think that if we just rest for a second and we rest in love, if I could say that, if we rest in love, and that feeling of love and compassion we have when we're either on psychedelics or in a deep state of meditation or in other kind of altered non-coffee driven westernized like productive states like this, when we're in one of the where when we're in one of these better, not better, but like different approaches, different states, altered states, sometimes you feel love, and sometimes you feel love for all of humanity, sometimes you feel intense love for those closest to you, and sometimes you feel love for yourself. That's the hardest one, to feel love for yourself. But if you're able to feel intense, true compassion and love for yourself, just like you would for another person that's suffering, and you're suffering, aren't you? We're all suffering, aren't we? Being here, living this life, all the crazy thoughts that happen in our body, all the circumstances that are happening in our lives, even the greatest, most successful people, even they suffer. That's just part of being you. That's part of being a human being, and that's why that's why we are on the. That's why some of us are on the warrior path. That's why some of us are on the path towards opening our minds, becoming enlightened, being more aware. Um, that's kind of why we're on it. That's why religions exist in a sense, but that's especially why some of the Eastern religions that have a lot of these aspects exist. The Buddha talked about suffering and how how intense and how pervasive suffering is among humanity, and he also talked about how pretty easy it is to end suffering, to stop suffering. It's easy kind of in theory, it's hard in practice, but when you get to that state, when you get a glimpse of that state and you're able to be loving and compassionate towards yourself, I think it's pretty self-evident that even though a lot of the underlying assumptions you had about yourself, about who you really are completely bullshit, completely complete fantasies, complete nonsense, and in fact you don't really exist. There is no such thing as you or me. That doesn't exist. Ego dissolution shows us that. Intense states of meditation, altered states of consciousness, psychedelic states show us that. Maybe for a second, or maybe in a way that endures longer. But that doesn't matter. You still can have compassion for an entity, whether that entity be a dog, someone you love, your child, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a parent, or whether it's for yourself, And after all, if you're gonna help someone out, why not help the one who you're around most of the time, who you're around all of the time, the one who you're most in control of, barely in control. You're just a little more in control of yourself than you are of other people, just a tiny bit more. It sometimes seems like you're in more control, but you're really not, just a little bit more. But even that little bit more adds something to it. Why not? Why not pick yourself as the focus of your attention? Start with yourself. Change yourself, and then you can change the whole world.